finding lengths using scale models. So we've done a couple of videos this week about ratios and proportions. So if you haven't watched those or you're unsure how to complete a proportion, go back and watch those just because it will explain a little more. I'll probably explain quite a bit in this one too. But right away, they're going to give us a scale drawing of a house, and they're telling us that 1 inch represents 9 feet. So then they give us the scale right here. So 1 inch, and we would say it's 1 inch to 9 feet. Even though it doesn't have 2 there, we still read it as 2. So this we write as a fraction. 1 inch to 9 feet, like that. And then in order to change it over, so they're going to ask a question like, the length of the real house is 27 feet. What is the length of the house in the scale drawing? So scale, sorry, started to spell that funky. Scale was the 1 inch. This is the actual house on the bottom here. So we want to do the same thing. We're going to write a proportion. So this is the scale. Every 1 inch in the drawing is 9 feet in real life. So over here, we're going to do the same thing. We want to know what is the length of the house in the scale drawing. We don't know, so we're just going to pick a variable. I'm just going to pick X. And then we know that the length of the real house is 27. So when I'm setting up my proportion, I want to make sure that I choose, is my scale going on top or bottom? And in this case, they're choosing for me because scale comes first, house comes second. So I should have scale and then house. And then I need to do the same thing on this other one. This is the scale, X. This is the house, 27. And then once I have my proportion set up, I want to start cross multiplying here. So I have 1. Oh, and you know what I forgot? I forgot to put feet, and this is going to be inches. All right, so I have 1 inch times 27 feet equals 9 feet times X inches. And I'm leaving the feet and inches in there because I'm going to show you how they cancel in just a moment, because they do end up canceling out. And we won't have to write them every time. I just want to show you that they do cancel. So we have 1 times 27, and we get 27 inches times feet, like this. I'm just writing it on the end, equals 9 times X, so 9X. And then I'm going to, oh, that was supposed to be, so inches and feet. So we have inches and feet on both sides. So now I just want to know what this X is. So I'm going to take 9 inches feet and divide on both sides. So it does look a little complicated with the units in here, but we don't have to do the units each time. Like I said, I just wanted to show you how it cancels. So we have 27 divided by 9, and we get 3. Well, inches over inches, that cancels. Feet over feet, that cancels. And then on this side, I have 9 divided by 9, that cancels. Inches over inches, that cancels. Feet over feet, that cancels. So I'm just left with X. So in the scale drawing, it must be 3 inches. All right, so for the next one, and we're always going to start with 1 over 9 because that's what they gave us. So what is it saying? In the scale drawing, the height of the house is 8. What is the height of the real house? So in the scale drawing, so remember scale is on top, we know that it's 8 inches. We don't know the bottom, or we don't know the height of the real house. So now we're going to take it, and I kind of flopped my colors here, but we're going to cross multiply. We have 1 times X equals 9 times 8. 1 times X is just X. 9 times 8 is 72. So we'd end up with 72 feet. All right. So if we scroll down here, we can see it's 3 inches and 72 feet. So they got the same thing. So it does look much more complicated having the units in here. I'm not going to do that again. I just wanted to show you at the end, they do cancel out. That's why we can ignore them. Once you know that they cancel out every time, it's perfectly fine. We can just ignore them and just focus on the numbers because it is much easier to just focus on the numbers there. All right, let's go ahead and get started. And okay, so this one, so it says a scale model of a table, and it's 1 centimeter represents every 4 inches. So 1 to 4. So this is what we're going to use for our beginning. So remember, this is scale, and this is real. All right. So we want to set up the second proportion the same way. We want the scale on the top, and we want the real on the bottom. So the height of the real table is 24 inches. What is the height of the table in the scale model? So remember, scale's on top. We don't know. That's what we're trying to find. But it does tell us that the height of the real table is 24. All right, so now we're going to cross multiply. And we get 1 times 24 equals 4 times x. So 1 times 24 is 24. 4 times x is just 4x. I'm going to divide by 4. 24 divided by 4 is 6. 4 divided by 4 cancels, and I just have x brought down. So the scale model is 6 centimeters. Okay, so now we need to do this one. And it says, go back to red here. So it says the scale model, the length of the table is 10 centimeters. What is the length of the real table? So we need to go back to our original 1/4 equals, now it's telling us in the scale model, the length of the table is 10. So scale goes on top, and we already know it. We don't know the length of the real table. And if it helps, you can use h for height instead of x. You can use L for length instead of x. It's perfectly fine. It's totally up to you. So now we're just going to cross multiply. And we have 1 times x equals 4 times 10. Do that. So 1 times x is x equals 4 times 10, which is 40. So that was kind of easy because we don't have to reduce any more than that. We just get 40. We're going to check. And we got it. All right, next, clear. All right, so we have a scale drawing of an airplane, and 1 inch represents 8 feet. So remember, we're going to use this 1 inch to 8 feet each time. This is the scale. This is the actual. So always remember, in these cases, it's giving it to you scale to real. So when you rewrite your proportion, or not rewrite, when you add your second proportion, you need to make sure it's scale to real, just the same way. All right, so the first question says the scale drawing. In the scale drawing, the length of the airplane is 6 inches. So we know the length in the scale drawing, but we don't know it in the real airplane. So I'll go ahead and use L on this one since we're looking for length. So we're going to cross multiply, and we have 1 times L equals 8 times 6. 1 times L is L. 8 times 6 is 48. So look at that. We already know it's 48 feet. We don't have to reduce it any farther than that. The second one says the wingspan of the real airplane is 72. So remember, we have to go back to this 1/8 because that's our scale. And they're telling us that the real airplane has a wingspan of 72. So we know it's real. Real goes on the bottom. What is the wingspan of the airplane in the scale drawing? So we'll go with W for wingspan. We're going to cross multiply. 1 times 72 equals 8 times W. 1 times 72 is 72. And 8 times W is AW. We're going to divide on both sides. So we end up with 9 equals W. These cancel because any number divided by itself cancels. Becomes 1. All right, check. Yay. Okay, one more. Clear. And go back to this one. All right, so a scale model of a television. We have 1 centimeter represents 6 inches. So 1 to 6. Again, scale to real. So we just have to read this and fill it out for this next one. We have the length of the real television is 48 inches. So real television, real goes on the bottom. What is the length of the television in the scale model? So L for length because we're looking for scale. The length of the scale model. So we're going to cross multiply. 48 times 1 equals 6 times L. 48 times 1 is 48. And then 6 times L is 6L. We're going to divide by 6 on both sides. And we get 8, because 48 divided by 6 is 8. 6 divided by 6 cancels. So the length of the scale model is 8 centimeters. All right. Last one here. We have to go back to our 1/6 equals. Now we need to figure out what are we looking for. In the scale model, the height of the television is 9. So they're telling us this is a scale model. What is the height of the television in the real television? I was going to say in real life. So we don't know. I'm going to use h for height. So we have 1, I'll put it down here, 1 times h equals 6 times 9. 1 times h is h. 6 times 9 is 54. So the real television is 54 inches. All right. Yay, we finished another one.